Welcome to another episode of BC Spirits. Of course, I'm your host, Sean Sewell. This week, I sort of pushed myself through a category which I despise, and I'm quite happy to say I despise it, which is vodka. Obviously, craft vodka in BC is very different to vodka everywhere else. Craft vodka in BC has to be made from 100% BC agricultural material, fermented on site and distilled. So there's a very high level of craftsmanship that goes into BC craft vodka. My issue with BC craft vodka is the fact that you need to be competing against some very big brands with very big budgets from the US, from Europe, and so forth. And most of those brands are using neutral grain spirit or NGS, industrial made, sugar beet, or sometimes grain alcohol, and just redistilling and purifying. So it's very hard to go dollar for dollar against big brand vodka. And I also think that people who drink vodka in usualness is very brand specific. Most categories have very brand loyal customers. I think vodka is a little bit more full on with their customer loyalty. So trying to break that mold of what your vodka is different to the Grey Goose, the Belvedere, the so on and so forth, is quite difficult. So what I've got in front of me, I've got 5 wonderful craft vodkas from BC. Now, vodka can be made from anything that's fermentable. So potatoes you've seen, grains obviously, sugar beets is a big one as we talked about industrial NGS. I've got a honey one today, which is really fun. So we're going to get straight into it. First off the map is the Vital Vodka from Roots and Wings. Roots and Wings is out in Langley. Now, it is a hell of a trek to get out to Langley and visit this distillery, but it's a gorgeous space. Go out and visit. It takes you a little bit out. I usually visit it when I'm going out to Chilliwack for the Fraser Valley Distillers Festival, which is up in February. But they do a great little vodka. The fun thing is that I love Roots and Wings mainly because they have a turf farm beside their distillery, which is what I grew up in doing when in high school with my family's business, which is turf farm or sod farming. And so it just takes me home a little bit and takes me back to my high school days. So this one is very mouthfeel and texture on the nose. I know texture on the nose seems weird, but there is a texture on the nose. There's distinctive potato, which is what one of the distillations is. So they use potatoes and corn, which is all sourced from Langley, and they make their vodka. Potato gives you a very distinct flavor profile. It's extremely starchy, so it's very hard to break down those starches into sugars, much more than when you rye or your grain-based vodkas. So potatoes has a very distinct flavor profile. The corn gives a great mouthfeel too. So they're sort of doubling down on this beautiful creamy mouthfeel. Full on like poppy flavor profiles of like bright fruit. It's very, very interesting on the palate. If you like your Polish vodkas, this one's probably the perfect one for you if you love your Polish vodkas. Now, a couple of years ago now, 2002 I think it was, Jacob Rice, who was with 42 Below at the time, he sat us down and we tasted 42 vodkas in an afternoon, which was a really intense tasting. But it really showed me that vodka does have more than the typical, what you get told, no taste, no aroma, no taste, no smell, no color. And so it really opened my eyes to how vodkas play with different things. And so while I don't love the category at all, I think it's a very boring category, if you will. I also have to understand that one of my favorite things, gin, is just a flavored vodka, and if you really want to get down to the nuts and bolts, whiskey is just aged vodka. So, if you really want to simplify it, this one's a great little starter. If you do like your Polish, it's still clean on the finish. It's very flavorful though, super flavorful. If you like your Polish style vodkas, your potatoes and that sort of thing, it's the perfect one for you. Next up, the Sheringham vodka. Obviously, I got little Mickey bottles of these today when I was out shopping for this episode. So let's have a look. Wheat barley, usual. So Sheringham does wheat barley mix, which will give it a very grainy finish. Their distills are a little bit different to the guys at Vital Vodka and Roots and Wings. So super clean on the nose, almost somewhat piney, which is odd. Oh, super clean distillate. Really mouthful of like really good. The thing is with craft vodkas, you have to be very careful that you don't get too super malty on the flavor profile. It has to be very clean. There's a reason why you get the distilled a million times sort of thing. But it really works out fantastically for that. Really clean. If you're just a vodka drinker, this is a nice substitute out there. It's got a little bit more flavor than your typical stuff, but it definitely works. Next up, the Stillhead vodka. These guys also do a blackberry vodka, which I'll be reviewing fairly shortly. They're definitely leaning into their whiskey and fruit brandies, which you know my history. I love my fruit brandies. And so I'm not even sure. I think there's going to be a couple of distilleries in BC very shortly, especially ones that start maxing out their cap of 50,000 litres, that may be leaning back from vodka because they'd prefer to put more effort into other things. So the Stillhead vodka. Oh, these guys have got it down pat. Super clean finish. Light, like a light hint of breadiness, yeastiness on the palate, but like super, super light. Like it's a very clean distillate, a very, very clean distillate. This is, again, perfect. These two are really, really good for your typical vodka drinkers who want to step out and go support their BC craft distilleries. So those two are fantastic for that. Stillhead well, both actually. Stillhead and Sheringham are both here on the island. They both have fantastic tasting rooms. Go out and check them out. They usually hit the farmers markets pretty hard too this time of year, so you should be able to find some stuff. Next up is our good friends at Bruinwood Vodka. So we did a couple of things from them in the last little while. I'm going to be tasting a few of their things coming up. I've got a couple of little things. They do a ton of products, a huge amount of products. Their advocate I'm going to be tasting today, hopefully sometime. So this is based in Roberts Creek, one of the ones that are in the interior. Barley and wheat again. And they ferment with a touch of honey, which is very interesting because like that sweetness is going to ferment, but it's going to give a very interesting fermentable sugar finish to it. Ooh. This is very interesting, this one. It's the first time I've tasted this one. You definitely get this very almost Belvedere French style vodka taste, but then you definitely get this residual sugar, the sweetness from the honey. It gives it tons of texture and like makes this sort of fragrant barley wheat thing go sing at the finish. Still 40%. That residual sugar is not clean. It's just like this sort of honeyish, sort of like meaty sort of feel to it, which is very, very tasty. I think this is a nice little run into this one. The Hive vodka from Spring Shine, one of the only distilleries on Salt Spring. I think it's the only distillery in Salt Spring. And the second distillery in the province just to focus on honey as their fermentable. I've talked about this. Honey is extremely expensive, extremely hard to get all the time, extremely hard to keep consistent. Then, of course, it's extremely hard to ferment, extremely hard to distill, and all these sort of things. So, Wayward Distilling and these guys are the only two that do honey for their fermentable sugars. But I'm looking forward to the fact that this had this like sort of honey finish, which is still tinkling around on my tongue. I think I tasted this in the stuff I tasted new this week, and I found it very clean for a honey spirit. If you've ever tried mead, and like I'm not talking about Braddock, like I'm talking about like real mead, like a solstice or something like that. I think it's solstice. It's very, 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 very mouthfeel, but the texture finishes off as this like very meaty, fermented sugar, kombucha sort of feel to it, which is very unique to honey spirits. So for a vodka, it's still very flavorful. Tons of great vodkas here, guys. Now, if you love drinking vodka at home, I get it. You have your specific brand. You only like drinking Smirnoff. You only like drinking thing. Go and get like one of these little bottles. Mix it in your favorite cocktail or mixer, whether it be tonic, cranberry juice, whatever. See how it plays out. Support your local economy. These guys give jobs to people in your community. Belvedere and Grey Goose do not, unless you're a brand ambassador in Vancouver or Toronto. But these guys are hiring and supporting local communities. So go out and support local communities. Pick up a little 375ml bottle at a Christmas market or a farmer's market, whatever, and support your local distilleries because they're supporting your community. So, on that note, I hope you enjoyed the tasting. I'll have a few more things for you coming up in the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much for the support. I am wearing BC swag. I know you can't see it, but this is one of my grain, grape, honey, and fruit hoodies, which I absolutely love this thing. This is all I pretty much wear now is my BC Spirits shirts and my BC Spirits hoodie and my BC Spirits hat. Working from home has been fantastic. But have a great week, guys. Thanks for the support. Merry Christmas. If I don't see you before Christmas, have a good week. Bye.